What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, what's going on in the United States, Washington, D.C., money, investing, and the next stimulus package, which has been announced at $3.5 trillion. And the House of Representatives will be going through the voting process this week, as they pretty much have to, as they have a deadline as September 27th, which is not tomorrow, but the following Monday, to vote on the physical infrastructure package. And they pretty much have to have the stimulus package passed before then, or by then, or on that date, or else the physical infrastructure package is going to be passed on that date. And yeah, there's a lot going on because the plan is to have the stimulus package passed before the physical infrastructure package. And the physical infrastructure package is set to be voted on September 27th. And all the Democrats are planning to have that passed before the physical infrastructure package. And if they don't, the physical infrastructure package is going to be passed by that date, and they could lose that leverage. Yeah, so we're going to have a very big week this week. Also, the debt limit ceiling needs to be raised, and we're going to have a government shutdown by the end of this month. If they don't pass a government shutdown, a continuing resolution by September 30th, which is now 11 days away, the government will shut down at the end of this month, as well as the government could go default for the first time ever sometime in October if they don't raise the debt limit, which Mitch McConnell says that all the Republicans are not going to vote to do that. We're going to be having more information on that in this video. Yeah, so we have an interview here from the third ranking Democrat, House Majority Whip, Representative Jim Clyburn, with information on all of this, the voting process on the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, raising the debt ceiling, which they have to do, or the government will default sometime in October, says Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, and they have to come to an agreement by September 30th, or the government will shut down. And they're going to be working on all of that this week. Yeah, so here is House Representative Jim Clyburn, the third ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives, on this entire process. And we'll be going through this interview, and we'll be talking through this here as we go. So here we go.
Joining us now, the number 3 Democrat in the House of Representatives, Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. So dozens of progressives in your caucus, in the Democratic caucus, say they're going to vote no on the bipartisan infrastructure deal on September 27th if a sweeping $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill isn't also passed by then. Given the fact that you currently don't have 50 votes in the Senate either, it therefore seems pretty unlikely that the reconciliation package will pass both the House and Senate in just the next 8 days, don't you think?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Jay. Well, we're all negotiating, and of course, we have a pretty big tent in our party. We have progressives that are very, very important, not just to the party, but to the country. And we have more moderates, and that's how it should be. We reflect what this country is all about, and we have a pretty evenly divided country these days. And all of us are working through that. So I know that everybody in our party understand that the country is at a point that we must do some things that we would not do ordinarily. And some of these things are going to be pretty expensive. But the real expense, is in not doing them. We cannot continue with this pandemic. We got to spend the money that's necessary to get beyond it. We've got to do something about our infrastructure. Bridges are breaking down all over, and we've got to do something about it.
The progressives are going to vote against the bipartisan infrastructure plan when it comes to the House floor on September 27th, unless it also comes with the $3.5 trillion budget deal. You're not going to have that passed by September 27th, are you?
Well, we can't. That's my point. Unless, let's make sure that we never get to that point. And that's why we have so much work going on now. Our leadership is on this. We are working with everybody in all corners of our party. They're trying to get to a common ground on all of these issues. And I feel very comfortable that we're going to get there.
And yeah, we have new information that has come out within the last 24 hours. The Congressional Progressive Caucus prepares to block the physical infrastructure bill if the reconciliation plan, the stimulus package, is not passed by the September 27th vote day. So if by September 27th, which is now basically almost a week away, if the vote day comes September 27th, which is not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, and they go to vote on the physical infrastructure plan, the physical infrastructure deal, the $1.2 trillion, that the Progressive Caucus, which is like 100 members in the House of Representatives, that they might all vote no. And if they all vote no, then the physical infrastructure package is probably going to fail, which means that they're basically saying that the stimulus package does not pass by then, that the Progressive Caucus is not going to vote yes on the physical infrastructure package. So they're threatening to say that the stimulus package still has to pass first before the physical infrastructure package. So that's why this is all kind of this is going to be a very, very extremely big week. The stimulus package could pass first this week. They could pass on the same day. And we also have the government shutdown coming this week, possibly vote this week, and the raising of the national debt limit that needs to come very, very soon, or the government will potentially default in October. Yeah, there's a lot going on this week.
Ground on all of these issues. And I feel very comfortable that we're going to get there.
So you're certain the House will still vote on this bipartisan infrastructure bill on September 27th and that it will pass? Or is it also possible you'll delay the vote?
Well, there's always a possibility that the vote will get delayed. But the question is, are we going to work to get to our goal for September 27th? Yes, we are going to work hard to reach that goal. And sometimes you have to kind of stop the clock to get to the goal. We'll do what's necessary to get there.
You suggested on CNN last week that the reconciliation bill could be less than $3.5 trillion. Senator Manchin said on this show last week that he wants a price tag closer to $1.5 trillion. At the end of the day, where do you think this is ultimately going to land? $2 trillion, $2.5 trillion?
Well, I have no idea. I also said last week that we ought to stop focusing on the number and start looking at what needs to be done. And if we are comfortable that we're doing everything that needs to be done for the American people, then let the experts put the number on it, and that will determine how much we need to spend. And so it may be 3.5, it may be close to that, or it may be closer to something else. So I think that we ought to really focus on the American people and think about what it takes to get us in a good place, and then let the numbers take care of themselves.
Well, that's a nice sentiment, but you have Manchin in the Senate saying he wants it closer to $1.5 trillion, and progressives in the House like Tlaib and Bowman and Jayapal, Cori Bush, they're suggesting they won't go lower than $3.5 trillion at all. I don't need to tell you, you only have 3 votes to spare in the House. Are you confident you're going to have the votes to pass a reconciliation bill less than $3.5 trillion?
Well, let's just say I'm comfortable with where we are. Yes, I believe in our party. I believe in our leadership. I believe that in all of the members that make up this great tent that we operate under. I think we'll get there. It's going to take some work, and we are going to do the work. I don't know that there's anybody in our party who feels that we cannot get there. They just want to make sure that all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and that we are responding to the American people's needs and aspirations.
That's why I like to show you guys this directly from the horse's mouth. In this case, the House Majority Whip, Jim Clyburn, the third-ranking Democrat. Remember, the Democrats are passing this bill completely on their own. They really don't care what the Republicans think, largely. Remember, not a single Republican is going to vote yes on this fourth stimulus package. And remember, not a single Republican voted yes on the third stimulus check. When you got that $1,400 third stimulus check, and that $3,000 to $3,600 child tax credit. Not a single Republican voted for that. So this next stimulus package, not a single Republican voted yes on that, and not a single Republican is going to vote yes on this next stimulus package. But that's why I like to show you guys this directly from. I like to show you my articles, show it to you directly on screen. When I can, show you interviews directly from the congressmen, so you know exactly what they're saying, what they're thinking, and you know they only have 3 votes to spare in the House, so there's 220 Democrats, and they have to basically get all of them to agree, 99% of them, and only 3 of them can say no. Now, this could happen. They could actually go to a vote here this week and get more than 3 of them that say no. If that happens, don't panic, because that did happen actually with the physical infrastructure package. If we go back a few weeks ago, when they were voting on the physical infrastructure package, when it was Republicans and Democrats, there was a vote that happened in the early stages of voting when not a single Republican voted yes, and the vote failed. And initially, that was okay. They just went back to the drawing board and renegotiated with the Republicans, and eventually they got it to pass with the physical infrastructure package, the roads, the bridges, the water infrastructure, that is going to provide $1.2 trillion to states. All the states are going to get multiple billions of dollars when and if that passes. The vote is set for that on September 27th. So the clock is really ticking. Remember, they want to pass the stimulus package before then. So, but there's a lot of progressive Democrats that are threatening to vote no on that if the stimulus package does not pass before then. So it's a very, very complicated game here that is going on really between the Republicans and the Democrats, even though all the Republicans are going to vote no on the stimulus package, and all the Republicans voted no on the third stimulus package, which is it's still kind of weird to me, because the Republicans were for stimulus up until December, right up until President Biden and the Democrats came, into office. Biden came into office in January, and Democrats took over control of the Senate in January when Mitch McConnell blocked that $1,400 stimulus check that former President Donald Trump actually wanted that second stimulus check to be not $600. He wanted it to be $2,000. Remember, former President Donald Trump actually wanted that. Mitch McConnell from the Senate blocked it. It passed the House. Former President Donald Trump wanted it, and Mitch McConnell didn't even let it go to a vote. And then subsequently, the Democrats won those 2 Senate runoff race seats because Mitch McConnell wouldn't even let it go to a vote. And his own Republican president, Trump, who was president at the time, he didn't even let it go to a vote, and it probably would have passed. And then, like a few days later, they lost those 2 Senate runoff race seats, which are kind of like tiebreaker elections. And the Democrats needed to win both those seats, and they won them by the slimmest of slim margins. They won both those seats to create a 50-50 tie. And then the Democrats took over the majority of the Senate because the tiebreaker went to the vice president, who then became a Democratic president because Joe Biden won the presidency. And then remember, Republicans were for stimulus in December. And then as soon as Biden came in and Democrats took control of the Senate, then Republicans were no longer for stimulus in January. So it's kind of weird that Republicans were okay and for stimulus in December. They voted yes for the stimulus package in December. But then all of a sudden in January, they thought that the American people didn't need help anymore in January. So I honestly think it's just a political game. It's just political posturing, because they were for stimulus in December, but no longer for stimulus in January. I don't know. You could let me know your thoughts down below in the comments because it just seems kind of weird that they were for stimulus and then a month later when Biden comes in office, now they're not for stimulus anymore. But nonetheless, not a single Republican is going to vote yes on this next stimulus package. And I see the comments down below in the comment section every single day, thousands of comments of people saying, we're in need, we're in a pandemic, we're struggling, we need help from the government. So let's really hope they pass this next stimulus package. And let's also hope that there's multiple different stimulus items, stimulus programs, and as much help as possible in this next package.
Are you telling both the moderates and the progressives in this debate that they need to compromise? Or is it just Joe Manchin, for example, who needs to compromise? Or is it just the progressives who need to come down from the $3.5 trillion?
Well, I've been in this industry a long time. One thing I found out that in politics, as in families, you sit down and you try to find common ground. Now, some people may call that compromise. I call it doing what is necessary to maintain the integrity of the whole body. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to find common ground, and you may want to call it compromise, but that's what I call it, finding common ground.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the U.S. may hit its debt limit next month. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says Republicans will not vote to raise the debt limit. Will Democrats just fold it into a continuing resolution on the budget or the reconciliation plan and pass it with only Democratic votes? What's the plan there?
Well, I don't know that we have a plan to do that, but I certainly would advocate doing that. When I was whipped before, we had the responsibility of keeping the country from going under after the Great Recession back in 2008, and the Republicans, the majority of them, walked away from that. And we filled in the void and did it as a party, and we'll do that again. The full faith and credit of the United States of America should not be compromised on the altar of politics. And I would hope that our Republican friends will get beyond politics and do what's necessary to keep this country moving forward and keep us financially integrity in place.
But you're not relying on your Republican friends to vote that way, right? You're fine with it passing in a Democrats only vote.
No, I'm not fine with that, but if that's what it takes, that's what it will take. The American people will see what the Republicans are doing on this front as well. They're doing enough on the social front to destroy the integrity of this country's fabric, and they will see them doing the same thing on the financial front. I think we ought to do what's necessary and message to the American people exactly who is trying to destroy this great democracy that we hope to keep in place.
Yeah, so as of this point, Mitch McConnell says that none of the Republicans are going to vote to raise the debt limit ceiling. So, yeah, I'm speechless. As of this point, it seems the only option to raise the debt limit ceiling, which they have to do just to pay the interest on our past debt, all the debt for the entire country for the past 100 years, they have to do that just to pay the interest on our country's debt, which of course we have to do, or else the country goes bankrupt in a way. And of course, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that the U.S. could default in October. In fact, I've seen estimates that it could come around October 10th. So what that means is that the U.S. has been using an emergency reserve fund of around $450 billion. And the $450 billion is running out by the day. And that if we don't raise the debt ceiling, which we have to do one way or another, either by a vote with the Republicans and the Democrats, or the Democrats do it with by passing the stimulus package, which means all the Democrats have to agree and include that in there. One way or another, they have to raise the debt limit, or else the government defaults. So you have to raise the debt limit. There's no way to not raise the debt limit. I believe they said in a previous article it's been raised 60 times in the last 80 years. It's just something that needs to be done. It's just our government just spends more money than they take in almost every single year. The debt limit was raised 3 times during former President Donald Trump's presidency. And it's just how our government works. I mean, in theory, we'd like to spend less than the government takes in, but that's just not what the government does. There was one year that Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton, proposed balancing the budget. And if you remember that, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, good job, Bill Clinton, good job." One year he proposed balancing the budget, and one single year he proposed it, and when all was said and done, they didn't even balance the budget. They came in just under. The government spent just a little bit more, so they almost balanced the budget, and it was like, hurrah, hurrah! You almost balanced the budget. One year in recent history. So there's 1 year in recent history that we almost didn't spend more than we took in. All the other years, we're just spending a lot more. Yeah. And former President Trump spent over $8 trillion into the national debt, the largest ever. I looked up, Obama spent about $8 trillion in 8 years. Trump did that in 4 years. But in fairness, he did have the pandemic to deal with. The 2 stimulus packages alone added $3.3 trillion in stimulus check 1 and stimulus check 2. Biden, stimulus check package number 3, added $1.9 trillion, about two, we'll just round and say $2 trillion with stimulus check package number 3. So again, I'm not from either party. I consider myself an independent, a realist. So I'm just being fair to all parties here. But remember, this next stimulus package is not going to add to the national debt, and neither is the physical infrastructure package. Both these next 2 packages are paid for, which is why the senators, the Democratic senators, are even demanding that this next stimulus package and the infrastructure package be fully paid for. So that's why these next 2 packages are very, very different. They're not going to add to the national deficit, which is very, very different. But they're very, very needed because our economy is really struggling right now. We're still in a once in a 100-year pandemic. Lots and lots of Americans in need. We need lots and lots of stimulus in this next package. We're going to find out what is going to be in this package probably this week. And I will keep you up to date with everything. Remember, new videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. Just click the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. And then after subscribing, click the bell icon to all notifications to get reminder notifications when we go live with new videos. You can also click the share button down below to share this video with your friends and family so that they know what is going on with this next stimulus package, which is expected to be the largest stimulus package yet to date. You can also click this video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video is how you can get up to $13,000 of your rent paid from the last stimulus package, and it is still available now. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.